Up next, we have Glen from Starboard Paddleboards. Yeah. Hey, Glen.
Good afternoon, Ben. How are you?
Good yourself?
Not too bad, man. Not too
All
bad.
right. We had some
Enjoying the snow. Enjoying the snowfall.
No kidding, eh? It's a beautiful May day.
Yeah, we're actually getting accumulation here today.
Okay.
So it's actually sticking around.
Yeah, it's crazy, eh?
Anyways, it is what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
So we had some technical difficulties earlier. So we had to move upstairs, but we're going to be linking Clayton in a little bit here to go over some of the paddle boards, the new 2020 Starboards for this season down on our store floor. But maybe just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about Starboard paddleboards and some of the environmental things that they're doing right now?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Ben, Clayton, thank you for doing this. Usually at this time of the year, myself and some of the other reps that have been on here today, we're running across the country doing product knowledge sessions and doing demos and doing events. But with the restrictions that we have right now, we can't do that. So this is a great idea. I actually have my boss from Vancouver and maybe Svein Rasmussen, who's the owner of Starboard, will be tuning in. So so thank you for doing this. It's much appreciated. So Starboard, we'll do kind of a brief kind of company history. Starboard was founded in 1994 by a gentleman by the name of Svein Rasmussen. He was originally from Norway. The company was founded in New Caledonia in the South Pacific. Because at the time, windsurfing equipment was moving towards very high performance stuff and it wasn't accessible to the masses. So Svein decided, I need to make this available to everybody. So he started making boards that were very easy to use and easy to learn. Fast forward to 2020, and we are now 26 years I've been doing this. Like I said, started off doing windsurf and equipment, and have branched into basically 3 different genres of water sports. So we have obviously Starboard stand-up paddleboards. Our Starboard windsurfing. We have Severn windsurfing, which is more of a higher end kind of performance sails and boards, and Air Rush kites for kiteboarding. So those 4 kind of companies all sit underneath the Starboard umbrella called the Tiki Corporation. They are all so the headquarters for the company is in Bangkok in Thailand, located about 2 hours away from the actual factory that makes all of the equipment and all of the boards for us. They have an R&D facility on site, so if they need to change the feel of a new board, they can do it and literally within hours be back on the water testing to make those changes. That's something that not very many people in the water sports industry can talk about. Currently, we are being distributed in over 100 countries around the world, and it is a global market. We have everyone from New Zealand, England, Russia, North America, South Pacific. We're covered everywhere. So one of the largest water sports manufacturers in the world. My responsibility is for Starboard in Ontario and Quebec. I deal mostly in stand-up paddleboard because it's kind of the industry that is having the most success at this point. We're talking about our 2020 stuff. Some of the things that Starboard does differently than a lot of other people in the packaging side of things. All of our boards, whether it's a hard board or inflatable, even to our paddles, all of the cardboard that we use is actually post-consumer recycled product. There's no virgin plastic or no virgin cardboard or any other materials that go into our boards. There's 95% reduction in plastic packaging. We have a recycled fiber plastic bag that goes over our composite boards. But again, that is post-consumer recycled product. Everything comes, like I said, everything comes recycled and is recyclable. One of the kind of the biggest things that Starboard does from the environmental stewardship side of things is that for every single board that Starboard sells globally, they plant a mangrove tree in the Tor Heyerdahl Climate Park in Myanmar. Now, what that does is that the root system of mangrove trees are very, very solid and they anchor really well into native soil. So coastal erosion is a key thing for these types of areas in the world. So it helps with coastal erosion. One of the other things is that it also, in its lifespan, a mangrove tree will reduce the amount, will take 1 ton of carbon emissions out of the atmosphere. So basically, in the past 8 years, with all of the thousands of boards that Starboard has built over the past number of years, their carbon emissions are everybody understands that there is there's eco impact to that.
Mhm.
In the past 8 years, Starboard has been able to completely reverse their carbon footprint from the start of their manufacturing 26 years ago. So that was as of 2019. So as of 2020, we're actually in a positive carbon impact.
Right.
So we're actually helping others clean up the environment. So that's a key thing. It's actually on the inflatable on the boxes that the inflatables come in. It actually says buy a tree, get a board.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of a neat little way of how they're plugging that. One of the other things of talking about inflatables is that the inflatable bags, so the carry bags that the inflatables come in, they're
Right.
actually made from recycled water bottles.
Yep.
They take the water bottles and they use like a very fine cutting edge, and they basically wind the bottles down into a thread. They then take that thread and they weave it into fabric. That fabric is used in our board bags. It's used in some of our technical apparel. Other companies around the world are using it as well. Adidas uses it in some of their shoes. And at the 2019 NHL All-Star Game, all of the jerseys and socks that all the players were wearing were made from the same material.
It's very cool. Yeah, I was pumping up one of the boards this morning. Yeah, I think it said 30 plastic bottles went into to making the board bag, which is really cool.
Yeah, so there's two different
Yeah.
sizes of board bags. The medium-sized bag, which is for kind of your general all-around size bags. It's 22 or 23 bottles, and the larger size bags for the airlines that we're talking about. It's 30 bottles. So that's one of the great things. Talking about environmental stewardship as well. So being in Asia, Starboard is close to the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. That has the highest content of ghost fishing nets.
Okay.
Ghost fishing nets are nets that are basically, they've either torn off of fishing fleets or they're left there, however they end up in the ocean. Starboard actually purchases those ghost nets from environmental groups that bring them in. And we upcycle those fishing nets. We take the nylon from it, and that's how we make our fins. So any board that you get that has the nylon fins, it'll say net positive on it. Those are actually made from recycled/upcycled fishing nets. So
Right on.
a couple of things, just to kind of digest. That's one of the things that kind of sets Starboard apart, because let's be honest, there are lots of paddleboard brands around. There's lots of options to choose from. But I think we're kind of starting to enter into a more of a kind of conscious buying decisions. And those are some of the things that a lot of people will take, they'll kind of gravitate towards those types of things.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of, as a big picture. The R&D facility in Bangkok is actually run off of solar and wind power. They actually have a freshwater containment, or not containment system, but a rain catch system for their water. So there are a lot of cool things that are happening with Starboard. On the Starboard website, there is another section completely dedicated to environmental. So anyone who wants to have a look at it, please by all means jump onto the Starboard website. It's the blue page. You'll get tons of information, and it's a really great site. Not to mention, there's lots of cool stuff to look at.
Yeah.
So
Always lots of cool stuff. Speaking of cool stuff to look at, we have Clayton down on the store floor, and
awesome.
we're gonna have a look at some of the new 2020 products from Starboard.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we're gonna link them in and see what we see.
There we are. All right. So what we are looking at here is a new board for 2020. This is what's called the Waterline. This is the Starboard 2020 Waterline. This is the evolution of the touring board. This board comes in two sizes. It comes in 14 by 28, so 14 feet, 28 inches wide, and it comes in a 12.6 by 28 inches wide as well. This board, like I said, is the kind of the evolution of the touring board. It's got a very, very refined nose on it. It slices through the water really well. It's got almost no rocker, so it's a dead flat board. Lots of space to move around on the deck. It does have tie downs at the back and at the front. And it comes in two constructions. What you're looking at right here, the white one that we see right now is our light tech construction. Light tech is for, without diving too deep into the actual layers of construction, it's a fiberglass board. It has some other composites that are layered into it to increase rigidity and stiffness in certain areas, like around the handles, around the fin boxes, underneath the standing tray where you stand. Yeah, so it's got a little bit of a dugout feel to it. It's about an inch tall, lowers the center of gravity, makes the board a little bit more stable. But at 28 inches wide, this board is super, super stable and really fast. A lot of the feedback that we've received over the number of years was that the touring boards felt a little sluggish because they were so big. And this was kind of the step to make that transition to a little bit faster of a board. It's got a dead flat tail on it. You can see how it's dug out. That actually allows, if the water does start to flood the deck, it'll actually run out the back. You can see the stepped rail on the very bottom there. You see that the little step down. That's to help water release off the back of the board quicker. And it comes with a really, really great fin. That's called the Dolphin 22 fin. And that's the black fin. That's the one that's recycled fishing nets. Single fin, you don't really need anything else for that on a touring board. So that's your light tech construction. The board also comes in carbon top construction. Basically, the top layer of fiberglass is removed and they use carbon fiber instead. Drops the board weight about 2 pounds. And so, yeah, and that's the Waterline. A great, fast, stable board. And next up, this is a new board for 2020 as well. This is the 12.6 by 28 generation. This is the board where if you have only enough room for one board, this would probably be the board you want to go for. It's 12 feet, 6 inches long, so it does fit into a race category. Whether you want to race it or not, that's, again, obviously up to you. It does have an increased rocker on it, so you can downwind this board, you can surf this board. It's a very, very agile board as far as conditions go. Again, this is in our light tech construction here. It's a fiberglass board. It does come in the carbon top as well. One of the things that makes this board different from your general all-around board is the thickness of the board at the nose. It does come with a great, it gives it a little bit more buoyancy. So when you are, paddling up the backside of a wave or down a wave, when you're downwinding or surfing, it helps keep that nose up and out of the way. So both of those boards, both the Waterline and the Generation, are proving to be two of the most sought after boards of 2020. So two great boards. We're going to move into what we have here is our 2020 Starboard All-Star. This is kind of our flagship race board. This is the wood carbon construction. So instead of it being a full carbon sandwich construction, we've actually taken some liberties in moving some carbon out of the way and using Australian pine to reinforce the board. It's obviously a little bit more cost effective to do that. And for those who are not 100% race enthusiasts, this makes the board a little bit more conscious for them. One of the key things for the All-Star changes there is if you can just right there in the middle of the board is actually a drain hole. You can see that the deck of the board has recessed a little bit. And instead of sloping the tail, so allowing the water to roll out the cockpit, the actual water will pool there and flow down that hole out of the water. Obviously, it's got a nice big deck pad all the way back to the back. It's got a kick pad on the tail that allows you to sink that tail to get it down to be able to turn the board if you're doing a buoy turn or if you need to make some adjustments on the water. Um, I'm not sure. Clayton, can you flip that board over for us? I want to show the bottom of the board quickly. One of the biggest changes to the All-Star this year was that the bottom channels on the board were changed. From 2017 to 2019, it had a single channel that ran underneath the bottom of the board. Basically, it was concave down there. What they've done is they've actually made a bit of a change, and you can see how we've actually gone to a double concave bottom with a small ridge that runs down the middle. As you move up towards more of the middle of the board, it might be a little bit tough to see here, but it's actually a little bit rounded out. Two reasons for that. One, it helps the water move better along the bottom of the board, and it also makes the board more reactive. This board is meant for all conditions, whether you're going to be downwinding, whether you're going upwind, sidewind, cross chop. You need to be able to move and quickly change your board direction. Those are a couple of the features as to why they do that. This board is available in two lengths. It's available in a 14-foot and a 12.6, as well as for the 14-foot board, there's 5 different widths. There's a 28-inch, a 26-inch, 24.5, which is what you see here, a 23.5, and a 22.5. Now, the 23.5 and 22.5 width boards are for advanced, experienced paddlers. The narrower widths tend to make the board a lot more reactive in side chop and cross chop, but they're still very, very stable and very fast boards. The 12.6 comes in 3 sizes. It comes in a 24.5, 26, and 28-inch wide board. And that's your All-Star. Oh, but sorry, one more thing. 2 constructions in that. So we saw the wood carbon, which you see here, and we also have it in a carbon sandwich construction, which is a full carbon sandwich board that has multiple layers of carbon and other kind of materials that help stiffen the board or increase its rigidity in places where it needs to be. I think we're going to move on to one of the inflatables now. Yeah, so this is our 14 by, I believe it's 28 inches. Yeah, 14 by 28 All-Star. This is the inflatable version. It's called the Airline. What it does is that on the back side of the board, on the bottom side, there is a cable that is anchored into the fin box and runs up through that little sleeve, wraps itself around the nose of the board, attaches to a cone, and increases the rigidity. There you see it attached to the fin box. It actually makes the board much stiffer. And in testing these boards, the 12.6 and 14-foot versions of the Airline inflatable were only slightly slower than the hardboard counterparts. This board does super well for elite athletes who want to travel. It rolls up into one of our travel bags, made out of the recycled water bottles, and it's a really great. It's a fun board. It comes with lots of FCS mounts, so if you want to mount your GPS, a GoPro, that type of thing, and it does have tie downs for storing some gear. One of the unique features about this is what Clayton's kind of zoomed in on right now, is that in the standing area, we've actually added in an ABS, basically a rail system that actually stiffens that patch. One of the things about inflatables is that you have the rounded curves on the side of the board, which effectively takes away deck space from you. So in this case, like a 28-inch wide board, that is the outside rail width to the outside rail width. Because the board has turned off basically rounded edges, you can't really stand on those round parts. So the effective standing area is actually only about 24 inches. What these ABS rails add into is that they add in standing space. So you can put your feet all the way out to get the maximum width that you can. And it allows you to actually steer with your feet as well. So you can push down on the rail a little bit and you can turn the board as you need to. All-Star inflatable, as well as all of our other inflatables, we have 3 different versions of construction for our inflatables. We have what's called our Zen model. Our Zen is a single layer PVC on the top and bottom, single layer single layer on the rails as well, and they are all welded. One of the things that Starboard has been moving forward with for a number of years, is to take away chemical, basically any type of chemicals that are in the boards. Obviously, it's not healthy for the people who are making them, and it's not great for the environment. So yeah, you see one of these. This is our deluxe, or is this a Zen? This is one of our. That's actually a windsurfing touring board, so that's a deluxe. What this has is that this has a double layer reinforcement on the rail and a single layer on the top and bottom. This board has that extra layer for durability. When we're talking about the durability, taking adhesives away from the construction of the board reduces the likelihood of that chemical, the chemical bond from breaking down over time. We're taking the chemical bond and we're making a mechanical bond with the welded seams. So regardless of your choice and selection for construction on inflatables from Starboard, they are all 100% welded boards. There's no adhesives used in the construction of the board. So we have like I said, we have three constructions. We've got our Zen, we've got our Deluxe, and we have our Deluxe dual chamber. Deluxe dual chamber adds in a safety aspect of the board. There are certain places in the world where you need to have a dual chamber. So if you do lose inflation in one chamber, it's a completely separate secondary chamber, and you still have flotation. I don't think we have a deluxe double chamber out there, but basically it's going to look the same as that, except down the middle you're going to have another chamber. One of the kind of the great things that happened when we introduced the dual chamber is that we ended up finding out that the board is much, much stiffer when you add that second chamber in. So they modified the chamber location and they brought it down into the middle of the board, so not only are you dual layer PVC, dual layer welding, but you're also having a second layer of PVC rails inside the board for where that dual chamber works. So in a great coincidence, we actually made a stiffer, safer board, and that's the Deluxe dual chamber board. So yeah, so that's boards. Here we go. Paddles. Paddles can be a very tough thing for a lot of people to kind of wrap their head around. So what we're going to do here is we've got 5 paddles, basically showing off the 5 different constructions of paddles, and we have 2 blade shapes. So we're going to start with with our basics. The paddle on, the white paddle there, that is our Enduro blade shape with a hybrid carbon shaft. And now this blade is your basic entry-level paddle. That's a 3-piece paddle. Breaks down into 3 pieces, fits inside your travel bags, no problem. It's a nylon blade, so it's great for families, people who want to share a paddle with kids. It's great for people who want to offer lessons or tours or that type of thing. Really, really bomb-proof paddle. Moving into the far blue one there, that's the same Enduro blade that is done with our Tiki Tech carbon and hybrid or fiberglass layup. So you actually have a little bit more shape to the blade. If you want to just zoom in on the blade shape there for a second, you can actually see some of the contours on the power face of the blade. It actually allows the blade when it enters the water. So when you start to pull on the blade, it actually doesn't flutter. It keeps the blade nice and flat against the water. So you're gathering water behind the blade and you're pulling, and that paddle blade doesn't flutter through the water. It actually pulls nice and straight back through. That is again, that's the Tiki Tech. That's our hybrid carbon version. So the paddle beside it, the pink one, that artwork is done by Sunny, who's one of our pro team riders. So our Takini version of the paddle, it comes in, that's the sun, there's the wave and the ocean. It's a great paddle for people who have smaller hands because the shaft is actually a little bit narrower. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That one with the blue tiki on it. That is a new paddle for 2020. It's the same enduro shaped blade that we've always used. It does have the power face contours to it. What's different about this year is that this is made from unidirectional carbon. This is a full carbon paddle. One of the biggest kind of feedback points that we had was that we wanted to have an affordable full carbon paddle. And that's where this unidirectional full turbo. So that's called the Enduro UD for, so the Enduro unidirectional carbon. All of the blades that we have are offered in a number of different sizes, from extra small all the way up to double extra large, depending on your blade preference and what you're using them for. That blade shape may change. So the guy with the red tiki there, this is the bling bling. This is our Lima. Yeah, Lima medium. This is a full carbon race paddle. It doesn't necessarily have to be just for racing. Anyone who wants to do any type of long distance paddling, this is the way to go. It's the flex pattern on the blade, the flex pattern in the shaft. It makes the paddle really easy to paddle and takes a lot of strain away. That's a fixed length paddle. It does come in adjustable as well. But you can see, if Clayton, if you can take one paddle and hold up that one and then hold the Lima up beside it, you can see the difference in blade shape. A lot of what you're seeing. So the guy with the blue tiki, that is the Enduro shape, and the red tiki is the Lima. So you can see the difference in shape. The Lima blade is shaped that way because it's actually easier to get in and out of the water. So the catch and the release section of your paddle stroke makes it very, very easy to get it in and out. A lot of the higher end paddle manufacturers that you see out there will have their own take on that race blade shape, and this is what Starboards is for today. So that's the Lima and the UD carbon. Outside of that, Starboard has a full lineup of accessories, leashes, PFDs. Always wear a leash. We have straight leashes. We have coil leashes. One of the things that I want to talk about on the inflatable side of things, is that all of our non-specialty inflatables come with a leash. So riverboards, surfboards, and ocean rescue inflatables do not come with a leash, but every other board that we sell comes with a leash in the bag. There it is. That's our straight leash. We got our coil leash there. Straight leash all around use. Coil leash usually more reserved for racing. Keeps it from off the deck and keeps it out from under feet. So. Yeah. Anything else you guys can think of that we should chat about?
Hey, Glenn, can you hear me?
Yep. There you go. I can hear you. Oh, look
All
at
right.
that. 3 screens. Awesome.
All right, how about just for folks that are looking to select and size a paddle, what should they be looking for? I know you touched on it a little bit with the blade selection, but just length overall.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stories as to how to select your paddle length. Really, when it comes down to it, the paddle length should be always start with an adjustable. Start with an adjustable. The easiest way how to start is to measure it up, pull it out to basically till the handle gets to the top of your head, and then they say either one shaka above your head. So you put your finger up like this, like you're saying aloha in Hawaii, and then that's where the handle should go. There's going to be other people out there that tell you that, reach up, and they size it like they would a cross country ski or whatever it might be. Ultimately, paddle length comes down to comfort, right? Start with the shaka above your head, and if you feel like you're not getting enough power from the paddle, make it a little bit longer. If you feel like you're getting your shoulders start to hurt, make it a little bit shorter. Ultimately, it's personal preference and what's comfortable. Because the last thing we want to do is to get hurt, right? That's the last thing we need. So there are markings on all of our adjustable shafts that will tell you, it'll give you your dimension as to how far off the adjuster you are. So when you do want to go to a fixed blade or a fixed shaft paddle, you'll know exactly what size you want.
Right on. Can you tell us what's going on all the paddles? They got a little hook on there. What's going on there?
Yep. Good call. So you see here, this is what's called the trash pick. Every starboard paddle comes with a trash pick on it. This is if you're paddling down your local river, your lake, wherever, you see a plastic bag, you see a piece of trash in the ocean or your river, you can scoop it out and you can pick it up, put it on your board, and throw it away properly.
Right on. One of the big things that we love about Starboard is that environmental stewardship that you guys definitely push for it to be more part of the industry, but you're also doing it yourselves in how you're building boards. There's certainly nothing saying that you need to do it, but Starboard definitely takes the time to figure out how they can both make better products, but also do it more environmentally
You're right.
friendly.
And why wouldn't you, right? You're in the water, you
Yeah.
see a plastic bag, scoop it out. These make it really easy, right? Like sometimes, some people may be unsure of their footing. They may not want to bend down to get it. You don't have to bend down. Just scoop it out. It's all good.
Right
Trash
on.
picker.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thanks, Glenn. I think
No problem.
I think we're gonna wrap it up for today. We really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we're gonna get some warmer weather so that we can all get out and enjoy
Yes.
enjoy a spring and some summer. Hopefully
Exactly.
soon. Right on.
Okay.
Thanks for taking the time. Take
No
care.
problem,
Happy
Ben.
paddling.
Anytime. Clayton, thanks for being the walker around with the phone there, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Cheers. Thanks,
Okay.
Glenn.
Ciao, guys.
Bye.